It is about building a foundation for a better future, ensuring that the voices of the victim are heard, but also that accountability and reform are not only pursued but institutionalized. The Gambia's experience offers lessons not only for our country but also for the broader region, but as well as the global community. So today's conference is convened under the Peace Building Impact Spotlight Initiative, and we are grateful to our friend from the UN Peace Building Support Office, our UN partners and the UN agencies that are leading this, particularly the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and all stakeholders who continue to support this process to reconciliation and reform. So dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let's use this opportunity to reflect on what has been achieved, identifying the gap that remain, but also reaffirm our shared and responsibility to advance meaningful justice and sustainable peace. Thank you very much for this opportunity to welcome you, and I wish you a very successful conference. Thank you.
Very much, Chairperson, members of the High Table, colleagues present here, the RC and the UNT, civil society, members of the media, other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ndaishirin Bakri. I'm the Executive Director of the Association of Non-Governmental Organizations, TANGO. It's a pleasure to be here. This is an important meeting for all of us. And we believe coming together, having this spotlight conference on justice and peace is very important. And civil society has been very active in this kind of work. Since 2017, we know that we are committed and it's a responsibility. There's a need to reflect on how far we have come when it comes to the Gambia transitional justice, and to consider the critical work that still lies ahead of us. We must first and foremost, through the Ministry of Justice, commend the government of the Gambia for initiating a comprehensive transitional justice process. Of course, that demonstrates also the political will, and this has been recognized internationally also. We as civil society, non-state actors, we have been at the forefront of this process. We've been advocating for justice, supporting the victims, and working towards a rooted things in human rights, accountability, sustainable peace. Without peace, much cannot be done. Civil society organization, survivors, victim-led organization become not just stakeholders, but touch bearers in this national quest. We've been in the forefront. This national conversation on justice and peace is both timely and necessary. It reminds us that peace is not merely the absence of violence, but the presence of justice, truth, dignity, and inclusion. No one should be left behind. And we as civil society, like I said, we've been playing a very important role in every phase of this transitional justice. From the early days, post-former regime, civil society have served as watchdogs, facilitators, mediators, educators, and advocating in connection for the voices of the marginalized be heard. We have, of course, today in our midst victims who we have to advocate for. They've been waiting too long. Civil society organizations, they've been organized through Telling Forum, just as the TRRC, the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission. We have helped communities to understand the mechanism of transitional justice, and we continue doing that. We provided safe spaces for survivors to speak, and also for citizens to discover the ideal of democracy and human dignity. This is very important. Through coalition like the Transitional Justice Working Group, which is housed at the Tango office, civil society helped to shape the agenda of transitional justice by developing a TJ civil society roadmap for the process. And civil society has been the bridge where government capacity and political will is not adequate. We continue to remind the state of its obligation while helping the citizenry hold faith in the possibility of justice, even when the timelines are not followed and outcomes are delayed. It's a process. And we believe that victims, they need to be the center of everything. They have been reminded us of the testimonies they have provided. Justice must include economic redress and social rehabilitation, and the victim, they need that. But most of all, it must include listening to the victims and putting their needs at the center of every reform. No policy or strategy should be taken without meaningful victim consultation. It is their suffering that mandates this national healing, and they must not be left behind. As we say, it should be inclusive. We know certain reforms have been taken. The government have set up the post-TRRC unit. Already the security sector reform is ongoing, which is a lingering priority. And at civil society level, we have set up a CSO, Coalition on Security Sector Reform. We work keenly on the different areas when it comes to the post-TRRC recommendation. It is important also to note that alongside the call for justice is a broader appeal for systematic transformation, beginning with the public service, which we hope the process has started, but we hope it will be faster. Moving forward, the role of civil society. Civil society remains committed to a just, peaceful, and inclusive Gambia. We leave no one behind. As watchdogs, we will continue to hold institutions accountable. As advocates, we will continue to shape policies, advocate for them, and push for reform. We will continue to break communities and institutions. But we cannot do it alone. We need stronger collaboration between the state actors and civil society, as it's government that provides the enabling environment, and of course working together with development partners. As civil society, we will continue our role of monitoring and advocacy, victim support and empowerment, public awareness and education, community-led peace building, capacity building, and resource mobilization. But in the Gambia, we should continue to celebrate and share, to work together. And a lot of things has been happening. Victim-led advocacy that has shaped our national conversation. There's a need for legal and institutional reform informed by citizen voices. We know reform is going, but at a snail pace. But we also want to acknowledge, as we reflect on this journey, our sincere gratitude to the Ministry of Justice for its leadership and commitment during this complex process. We also thank the United Nations system in the Ghana for its unwavering support to the transitional justice, governance reform, human rights promotion. There's a technical support, policy advice, and partnership is valuable. It cannot be overemphasized. And our colleagues from the Water International, thank you for facilitating this important process, helping to build bridges between community, civil society, and institutions. To the survivors and victims, thank you for your courage. You continue to remind us of what still needs to be done, and we will continue working with you. Let us remain committed as a nation to the promise of never again, and let us ensure that our children inherit a Gambia that is just, free, and peaceful. And to all Gambians, never forget that the future of justice and peace depend on each other. Let's keep the conversation going on. Let's finish what we have started. We are all part of it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam.
Excellency, Mr. Frederick Paul, the UN Resident Coordinator to the Republic of the Gambia, Your Excellency, Madam Mandisa Moshologu, UNDP Resident Representative to the Gambia, the Executive Director of Tango, Madam Lei Sirin Jobate Bakurin, Dr. Mariam John, Mr. Mustafa Sanya of the Office of the President, and Madam Bintu Sala, Consultant for Co-worker. Excellencies, the Deputy British High Commissioner, members of the European Mission to the Gambia here present, members of the press, I recognize the Deputy Head of Mission of the United Nations, of the European Union, Mr. Raphael Brigandi, it's also a pleasure to recognize the presence in our midst this morning of Imam Drame, a personality the government can always count on in the promotion of human rights, as well as in the fight against FDM. And just happy that Imam Drame is in our midst this morning, and he has been in the center of the transitional justice process since the beginning. So very much pleased to see you, Imam, in our midst this morning. I also would like to recognize the presence of the former Executive Director of the TRRC, the indefatigable Dr. Baba Garijabo. And we are so pleased to have you in our midst this morning, Dr. Jalo. And of course, to also use this occasion to thank you for the immense contributions you have made in the development and the journey of the TRRC. In fact, what most Gambians don't know is that you have to leave your lucrative job in the United States of America and come to contribute to this process of nation building. So it's a pleasure to have you in our midst and just to recognize you and thank you. So thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you on behalf of the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, welcome all of you to this auspicious occasion. And let me use this occasion to express our sincere appreciation to the United Nations for its steadfast partnership in the Gambia, and especially the transitional justice process. In particular, we want to extend our gratitude to the Peace Building Fund, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and the United Nations Development Program for the generous support, technical, financial, and moral throughout all these years. This journey would not have been possible without your belief and commitment to the principles of human rights and the rule of law. Since January 2017, the Gambia has continued making strides in addressing human rights violations that took place between July 1994 and January 2017. We have grappled with the design of our transitional justice program in early days, asking the question, how best do we mend, but also ensure that such violations are never repeated on Gambian soil. The outcome of extensive nationwide consultations around transitional justice in 2017 led us to the conclusion that our transitional justice program must be holistic in nature. It must be broad, ambitious, and focus on attaining sustainable peace and development for future generations of the Gambia. Transitional justice, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, is deeply anchored on inclusive and participatory truth-seeking, reparations for victims, accountability for those most responsible for abuses and human rights violations, as well as reforms, both institutional and legal, including constitutional reform. The United Nations has always been a strong pillar of support to the government of the Gambia from the onset of our transitional justice program in January 2017, particularly through the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and the United Nations Development Program Office in the Gambia. The government of the Gambia and civil society have consistently received strong technical and financial assistance to implement the TJ project in the Gambia. Much of this support, we are aware, was made possible by decisions of the Peace Building Commission, making the Gambia eligible for peace building funds and promoting our transitional justice agenda through strong advocacy and partnership. The Gambia has relied on peace building funds to implement various aspects of our transitional justice program, from security sector reform to the operationalization of the now renowned Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. It is safe to say that the government and people of the Gambia have cherished and strategically utilized peace building funds, and as a result, notable project progress has been achieved. Tomorrow, June 19, will mark the Peace Building Commission's 20th anniversary commemorations. Our Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Dr. Mamadou Tangara, will deliver a keynote address at a high-level session where he will highlight the Gambia's exemplary peace-building efforts and exploring how these experiences can inform future United Nations peace-building initiatives and ongoing global challenges to democratic governance. The government of the Gambia appreciates the recognition by the United Nations of our transitional justice program, selecting the Gambia out of dozens of other countries all over Africa and the world to spotlight us over the course of the year. A key message we, the government, have always given is that through immense determination from organizations like the Peace Building Fund and the Peace Building Commission, change is possible. Over the course of the past several months, we have had the privilege of observing ways in which this spotlight action exercise will be working in the Gambia. The main focus of this exercise has been gathering and analyzing data regarding transitional justice, which has been dedicated to the victims of past human rights violations and to the improvement of the society as a whole. Through seeking accountability and reparations are the main ways in which transitional justice has been put into action here in the Gambia. Searching for truth regarding mistakes and abuses made by the former government allows us to hold perpetrators accountable and dispense reparations to victims and survivors as needed. The goal for this entire process, including this conference, is to deepen our understanding of the need for transitional justice efforts and how these efforts have affected the Gambia. We will discuss things that have been beneficial to this program while also adhering to the need for growth in this program. Our understanding of what has worked in the past will allow us to implement these changes globally to reach an even larger audience, and our understanding of what can improve will allow us the ability to adjust the implementation of our plans. We will also be reviewing and analyzing the data collected and continuing to observe the changes and growth made throughout the Gambia. I take this opportunity to extend our deepest appreciation to the stakeholders who continue to inform, implement, drive, and promote transitional justice in Gambia, namely representatives of the United Nations, academia, civil society, and victim-led organizations, and our esteemed development partners and dignitaries from the international community. Your commitment to improving the future of each nation recovering from conflict has proven to be invaluable, and we are most grateful for your dedication in supporting the Gambia. We are encouraged by discussions around enhancing transitional justice in the Gambia, encouraged because despite the myriad of difficulties we are facing in all corners of the world, we are still able to recognize and remain committed to people and victim-centered justice. The headlines we see across the globe today are a sobering reminder of the price we pay when peace is not nurtured. From political instability to mass displacement and violent extremism, the fragility of peace in many corners of the world speaks to a universal truth, that peace cannot be declared, it must be built, deliberately, inclusively, and over time. Transitional justice in this context is not only about redressing past wrongs, it is about creating the moral and institutional infrastructures for a peaceful society. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this conference provides us an opportunity to reflect critically on how far we have come and how much further we need to go. Sustaining peace requires that we remain committed to the rights of victims, to the rule of law, and to the healing of communities. It requires that our institutions become more transparent, our governance more accountable, and our justice mechanisms more responsible. And I can assure the Executive Director of Tango that the government has the political will to ensure that all these values are realized. We are deeply encouraged by the active participation of civil society, victims groups, and our international partners in this process. Your voices have shaped the national dialogue, and your resilience has reminded us why this war matters. As we proceed with these deliberations, let us be guided by the lessons of our past, the aspirations of our people, and the responsibility we hold for future generations. Let us remember that transitional justice is not a phase, nor a chapter to be closed. It is a living commitment to never again allow justice to take root. On that note, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Justice, the Honorable Dauda Ejaro, I would like to wish this forum a very successful working day, very successful deliberations, and we look forward to a very impactful event. And having said that, it's my pleasure to declare this forum open. I thank you all for your kind attention.